Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 951st night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the young merchant, after recounting to the caliph the matter of the bag and its containing jewels of all sorts, continued, Presently, O commander of the faithful, said one of the men on the chairs, O company of merchants, we will sell but this to-day, by way of spending money, for that we are weary. So the merchants fell to bidding one against the other for the jewels, and bid till the price reached 400 dinars. Then said to me the owner of the bag, for he was the oldest acquaintance of mine, and when he saw me, he came down to me and saluted me. Why dost thou not speak, and bid like the rest of the merchants? I said, O my lord, by Allah, the shifts of fortune have run against me, and I have lost my wealth, and only 100 dinars left in this world. Quoth he, O Omani, after this vast wealth, can only 100 dinars remain to thee? And I was abashed before him, and my eyes filled with tears, whereupon he looked at me, and indeed my case was grievous to him. So he said to the merchants, Bear witness against me, that I have sold all that is in this bag of various gems and precious stones to this man for 100 gold pieces, albeit I know them to be worth so many thousand dinars. And this is a present from me to him. Then he gave me the saddle-bag and the carpet and all the jewels and that were thereon, for which I thanked him, and each and every of the merchants present praised him. Presently I carried all this to the jewel market, and sat there to sell and buy. Now, among the precious stones was a round amulet of the handiwork of the masters, weighing half a pound. It was red of the brightest, a carnelian on both whose sides were graven carrots and characters like the tracks of ants. But I knew not its worth. I sold and bought a whole year, at the end of which I took the amulet and said, This has been with me some while, and I know not what it is, nor what its value may be. So I gave it to the broker, who took it and went round about, and returned, saying, None of the merchants will give thee more than 10 dirhams for it. Quoth I will not sell it at that price. And he threw it in my face and went away. Another day I again offered it for sale, and its price reached 15 dirhams, whereupon I took it from that broker in anger and threw it back into the tray. But a few days after, I sat in my shop, and there came up to me a man who bore the traces of travel, and saluting me said, By thy leave, I will turn over what thou hast of wares. Said I, 'Tis well. And indeed, O commander of the faithful, I was still wroth by reason of the lack of demand for the talisman. So the man fell to turning over my wares, but took naught thereof, save the amulet, which when he saw it, he kissed his hand and cried, Praise be Allah! Then said he to me, O my lord, wilt thou sell this? And I replied, Yes. Being still angry, quoth he, What is its price? And I asked, What wilt thou give? He answered, 20 dirhams. So I thought he was making mock of me, and exclaimed, Wend thy ways! But he resumed, I will give thee 50 dirhams for it. I made no answer, and he continued, 1,000 dinars. But I was silent, declining to reply, whilst he laughed at my silence, and said, Why dost thou not return me an answer? Hie thee home, repeated I, and I was like to quarrel with him, but he bid 1,000 after 1,000, and I still made him no reply, till he said, Wilt thou sell it to me for 20,000 dinars? I still thought he was mocking me, but the people gathered around, and all of them said, Sell to him. And if he buy it not, we will up and at him, and drub him, and thrust him forth the city. So I quoth to him, Wilt thou buy, or dost thou jest? And quoth him, Wilt thou sell, or dost thou joke? I said, I will sell if thou wilt buy. Then he said, I will buy it for 30,000 dinars. Take them and make the bargain. So I cried to the bystanders, Bear witness against him, adding to him, But on condition that thou acquaint me with the virtues and the profit of this amulet, for which thou payest all this money. He answered, Close the bargain, and I will tell thee this. I rejoined, I sell it to thee. And he retorted, Allah be witness of that which thou sayest, and testimony. Then he brought out the gold, and bring it to me, taking the amulet, and set it to his bosom. After which he returned to me, and said, Art thou content? Answered I, Yes. And he said to the people, Bear witness against him that he hath closed the bargain, and touched the price 30,000 dinars. Then he turned to me and said, Hark I, my poor fellow, hast thou held back from selling? By Allah, I would have bidden thee up to 100,000 dinars, nay, even 1,000,000. When I heard these words, O Commander of the Faithful, the blood fled my face, and from that day there overcometh this pallor thou seest. Then I said to him, Tell me the reason of this, and what is the use of this amulet? And he answered, saying, Know that the king of Hind hath a daughter. Never was seen a thing fairer than she, and she is possessed with a falling sickness. So the king summoned the scribes and men of science and divines, but none of them could relieve her of this. Now I was present in the assembly, so I said to him, O king, I know a man called Sadullah the Babylonian, than whom there is not one like him on the face of the earth, one more masterly in these matters. And if thou see fit to send me to him, do so. Said he, Go to him. And quoth I, Bring me a piece of carnelian. Accordingly he gave me a great piece of carnelian, and 100,000 dinars, and a present which I took, and which I betook myself to the land of Babel. Then I sought out Sheikh, and when he was shown to me, I delivered to him the money and the present, which he accepted, and sending for a lapidary, bade him fashion the carnelian into this amulet. Then he abode 7 months in observation of the stars, till he chose out an auspicious time for engraving it, when he graved upon it these talismanic characters which thou seest. And I took it and returned with it to the king. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 952nd night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the young man said to the Commander of the Faithful, So after the sheikh had spoken, I took this talisman, and returned with it to the king. Now the princess was bound with 4 chains, and every night a slave girl lay with her, and was found in the morning with her throat cut. The king took the amulet and laid it upon his daughter, who was straightway made whole. At this he rejoiced with exceeding joy, and invested me with a vest of honor, and gave alms of much money. And he caused set the amulet the prince into a princess's necklace. It chanced one day that she embarked with her women in a ship, and went for a sail on the sea. Presently one of her maids put out her hand to her to sport with her, and the necklace brake, and fell into the waves. From that hour the possessor of the princess returned to her, wherefore great grief betided the king, and he gave much money, saying, Go thou to Sheikh Sab'adullah, and let him make her another amulet in lieu of that which was lost. I journeyed to Babel, but found that the old man had died. Whereupon I returned to the king, who made me send out 10 others to go round about in all the country, so haply we might find a remedy for her. Now Allah hath caused me happen on it with thee. Saying these words, he took from me the amulet, O Commander of the Faithful, and went his way. Such, then, is the cause of the wanness of my complexion. As for me, I repaired to Baghdad, carrying all my wealth with me, and took up my abode in the lodgings where I lived whilom. On the morrow, as soon as it was light, I donned my dress, and betook myself to the house of Tahir ibn al-Ala. That happening, I might see her for whom I loved, for the love of her had never ceased to increase upon my heart. But when I came to his home, I saw the balcony broken down, and the lattice built it up. So I stood a while, and I pondered my case, and the shifts of time, till there came up a serving man, and I questioned him, saying, What hath God done with Tahir ibn al-Ala? And he answered, O my brother, he hath repented to Almighty Allah. Quoth I, What was the cause of his repentance? And quoth he, O my brother, in such a year there came to him a merchant by name Abu al-Hasan, the Omani, who abode with his daughter a while till his wealth was all spent, when the old man turned him out broken-hearted. Now the girl loved him with exceeding love, and when she was parted from him, she sickened of a sore sickness, and came nigh unto death. As soon as her father knew how it was with her, he sent after and sought for Abu al-Hasan through the lands, pledging himself to bestow upon him whoso should produce him 100,000 dinars. But none could find him, nor come on any trace of him, and she is now hard upon death. Quoth I, And how is it with her sire? And quoth the servant, He hath sold all his girls for grief of that which hath befallen him, and hath repented to Allah Almighty. Then asked I, What wouldst thou say to him who should direct thee to Abu al-Hasan the Omani? And he answered, Allah upon thee, O my brother, that thou do this and quicken my poverty and the poverty of my parents. I rejoined, Go to her father and say to him, Thou owest me the reward for good news, for that Abu al-Hasan the Omani standeth at the door. With this he set off trotting as he were a mule loosed from the mill, and presently came back accompanied by Sheikh Tahir himself, who no sooner saw me than he returned to his house and gave the man 100,000 dinars, which he took and went blessing me. Then the old man came up and embraced me and wept, saying, O my lord, where hast thou been, absent all this while? Indeed, my daughter hath been killed by reason of her separation from thee. But come with me into the house. So we entered, and he prostrated himself in gratitude to the Almighty, saying, Praised be Allah, who hath reunited with thee. Then he went in to his daughter, and he said to her, The Lord hath healed thee of this sickness. And said she, O my papa, I shall never be whole of my sickness, save I look upon the face of Abu al-Hasan. Quoth he, And thou wilt eat a morsel and go to the Hammam? I will bring thee in company with him. Asked she, Is it true that thou sayest? And he answered, By the great God, 'tis true. She rejoined, By Allah, if I look upon his face, I shall have no need of eating. Then said he to his page, Bring in thy lord. Thereupon I entered, and when she saw me, O Prince of True Believers, she fell down in a swoon, and presently coming to herself recited this couplet, Yea, Allah hath joined the parted twain, when no thought they thought e'er to meet again. Then she sat upright and said, By Allah, O my lord, I had not deemed to see thy face evermore, save it were in a dream. So she embraced me, and wept, and said, O Abu al-Hasan, now will I eat and drink. And the old man, her sire, rejoiced to hear these words. And they brought her meat and drink, and we ate and we drank. O Commander of the Faithful, after this I abode with them a while, till she was restored to her former beauty, when her father sent for the Qazi and the witness, and bade write out the marriage contract between her and me, and made a mighty great bride feast. And she is my wife to this day, and this is my son by her. So saying, he went away and returned with a boy of rare beauty and symmetry, of form and favour, to whom said he, Kiss the ground before the Commander of the Faithful. He kissed the ground before the Caliph, who marvelled at his beauty and glorified his Creator, after which Al-Rashid departed, he and his company, saying, O Jafar, verily this is none other than a marvellous thing. Never saw I or heard I aught more wondrous. When he was seated in the palace of the Caliphate, he cried, O Monsieur! Who replied, Here I am, O my lord. Then he said, Bring me the year's tribute of Basra and Baghdad and Khorasan, and set it in this recess. Accordingly, he laid the 3 tributes together, and they were a vast sum of money, whose tale none might tell, save Allah. Then the Caliph bade draw a curtain before the recess, and said to Jafar, Fetch me Abu al-Hasan. Replied Jafar, I hear and obey. And going forth, returned presently with the Omani, who kissed the ground before the Caliph, fearing lest he had sent him because of some fault that he had committed when he was with him in his house. Then said Al-Rashid, Hearken, O Omani. And he replied, Add some, O Prince of the True Believers. May Allah ever bestow his favours upon thee. Quoth the Caliph, Draw back yonder curtain. Thereupon Abu al-Hasan drew back the curtain from the recess, and was confounded and perplexed at the mass of money he saw there. Said Al-Rashid, O Abu al-Hasan, whether it is more money than this, or that thou didst lose by the amulet? And he answered, This is many times the greater, O Commander of the Faithful. Quoth the Caliph, Bear witness, all of ye who are present, that I give this money to this young man. So Abu al-Hasan kissed ground, and was abashed, and wept before the Caliph for excess of joy. Now, when he wept, the tears ran down from his eyelids upon his cheeks, and the blood returned to its place, and his face became like the moon on the night of fullness. Whereupon quoth the Caliph, There is no God but the God. Glory be to him who decreeth change upon change, and is himself the everlasting, who changeth not. Saying these words, he bade fetch a mirror, and showed Abu al-Hasan his face, therein which, when he saw it, he prostrated himself in gratitude to the Most High Lord. Then the Caliph bade transport the money to Abu al-Hasan's house, and charged the young man not to absent himself from him, so he might enjoy his company as a cup companion. Accordingly, he paid him frequent visits, till Al-Rashid departed to the mercy of Almighty Allah, and glory be to him who dieth not, the Lord of the seen and the unseen. And among tales they tell is one touching tale of Ibrahim and Jamilah. Al-Kashib, Wazir of Egypt, had a son named Ibrahim, than whom there was no goodlier, and of his fear for him he suffered him not to go forth, save to Friday prayers. One day, as the youth was returning from the mosque, he came upon an old man with whom there were many books. So he lighted down from his horse, and seating himself beside him, began to turn over the tomes and examine them. In one of them he espied the semblance of a woman, which all but spoke. Never was seen on the earth face one more beautiful. And as this captivated his reason and confounded his wits, he said to the old man, "O Sheikh, sell me this picture." And the bookseller kissed ground between his hands and said, "O my lord, 'tis thine without price." Ibrahim gave him 100 dinars, and taking the book in which the picture fell, took gazing upon it, and weeping night and day, and abstaining from meat and drink and sleep. Then said he in his mind, "And I ask the bookseller of the painter of this picture, haply he will tell me, and if the original be living, I will seek access to her. But if it be only a picture, I will leave doting upon it, and plague myself no more for a thing which hath no real existence." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 953rd night, she pursued, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the youth Ibrahim said to his mind, and I asked the bookseller of the painter of this picture, haply he will tell me, and if it be only a picture, I will leave doting upon it, and plague myself no more for a thing which has no real existence." So on the next Friday he betook himself to the bookseller, who sprang up to receive him, and said, "O uncle, tell me who painted this picture." He replied, "O my lord, a man of the people of Baghdad painted it by the name of Abu al-Qasim al-Sadalani, who dwelleth in a quarter called Al-Kark. But I know not of whom it is a portraiture." So Ibrahim left him without acquainting any of his household with his case, and returned to the palace, after he prayed his Friday prayers. Then he took a bag, and filling it with gold and gems to the value of 30,000 dinars, waited till the morning, when he went out without telling any, and presently overtook a caravan. Here he saw a Badawai, and asked him, "O uncle, what distance is between me and Baghdad?" And the other answered, "O my son, where art thou, and where is Baghdad?" "Verily, between thee and it is 2 months' journey." Quoth Ibrahim, "O uncle, and thou wilt guide me to Baghdad, I will give thee 100 dinars, and this mare under me, that is worth over 1,000 gold pieces." And quoth the Badawai, "Allah be witness of what we say. Thou shalt not lodge this night but with me." So Ibrahim agreed to this, and passed the night with him. At break of dawn, the Badawai took him, and fared on with him in haste by a near road, in his greed for the mare and the promised goods. Nor did they leave wayfaring till they came to the walls of Baghdad, when said the wilding, "Praise be Allah for safety. O my lord, this is Baghdad." Whereat Ibrahim rejoiced, and exceeding joy, and alighting from the mare, gave him to the desert man, together with 100 dinars. Then he took the bag, and entering the city, walked on, inquiring for the quarter of Al-Kark, and the station of the merchants, till destiny drave him to a byway wherein were 10 houses, 5 fronting 5, and at the farther end was a 2-leaved door with a silver ring. By the gate stood 2 benches of marble spread with the finest carpets, and on one of them sat a man of handsome aspect and reverend, clad in sumptuous clothing, and attended by 5 Mamelukes like moons. When the youth Ibrahim saw the street, he knew by the description the bookseller had given him. So he salaamed to the man, who returned the salutation, and bidding him welcome, made him sit down, and asked him of his case. Quoth Ibrahim, "I am a stranger man, and desire of thy favour that thou look me at the house in the street, where I may take up my abode." With this the other cried out, saying, Ho, Gazla! And there came forth to him a slave girl, who said, At thy service, O my lord. Said his master, Take some servants, and ferry you all and every to such a house, and clean it, and furnish it with whatso is needed for this handsome youth. So she went forth and did his bidding, whilst the old man took the youth and showed him the house, and said, O my lord, how much may be the rent of this house? The other answered, O brighter face, I will take no rent of thee whilst thou abidest therein. Abraham thanked him for this, and the old man called another slave girl, whereupon there came forth to him a damsel like the sun, to whom he said, Bring chess. So he brought it out, and the servant set the cloth, whereupon the sheikh said to Abraham, Wilt thou play with me? And he answered, Yes. So they played several games, and Abraham beat him, and when his adversary exclaimed, Well done, O youth, thou art indeed perfect in qualities. By Allah, there is not one in Baghdad can beat me, and yet thou hast beaten me. Now when they had made ready the house, and furnished it with all that was needful, the old man delivered the keys to Abraham, and said to him, O my lord, wilt thou not enter my place and eat of bread? He assented, and walking in with him found it a handsome house, and goodly, decorated with gold, and full of all manner of pictures and furniture galore, and other things such as the tongue faileth to set out. The old man welcomed him and called for food, whereupon they brought a table of the make of Sana of Al-Yaman, and spread it with all manner of rare viands, than which there was not costlier, nor more delicious. So Abraham ate his sufficiency, after which he washed his hands, and proceeded to inspect the house and the furniture. Presently he turned to look for the leather bag, but found it not, and said to himself, There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah, the glorious, the great. I have eaten a morsel's worth of dirham or two, and have lost a bag wherein is 30,000 dinars worth. But I seek aid of Allah. And he was silent, and could not speak. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale for today, till it be morrow.